elders, honorable listeners, if you recall last week we covered the section regarding Ramadan, those things that do not violate, do not break your fast. So several things we covered last week that do not break the fast. A person who eats and drinks forgetfully, person who applying oil or any sort of any other external cream, etc. does not break the fast. Applying antimony, kuhl does not break the fast. Eye drops, ear drops do not break the fast. Injection does not break the fast. Likewise, we also covered some of the situations or some of the scenarios in which the fast is broken due to vomit. And there was only two scenarios where your fast is broken if you vomit. Number one, if a person vomits unintentionally, full mouth, and then he deliberately swallows that. Number one. Number two, if a person intentionally vomits, voluntarily vomits mouthful, irrespective of whether he swallows that or not, the fast is broken. Any other scenario does not render the fast invalid. Now moving on, in today's session inshallah, we will briefly look at those things, or those people rather, who are exempted from fasting, those people who do not have to fast due to illness or any other occurring thing. Thus, Imam Maidani rahimahullah mentions ويجوز الفطر لمسافر ومريض خاف زيادة المرض أو بطئه بتجربة أو إخبار حاذق مسلم أو وحامل ومرضع خافت على نفسها أو ولدها ومن حصله جوع أو عطس شديد يخاف منه الهلاك. It is permissible to break the fast for the following people. Number one, someone who is traveling. So shari'i travel, legal traveling, mileage. If a person is traveling and the destination they are traveling to, they are staying there less than 15 days. If they have the intention of staying 15 or more days at the destination, then they will have to fast when they get there. But during the course of traveling, they don't have to fast. There's the option of not fasting. However, if you do fast, وَأَنْتَصُومُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ is better for you, especially for those who can fast whilst traveling. But if a person doesn't fast whilst they're traveling, there is no blame. They should not be censured. They should not be told off. आज का तो टेक्नोलॉजी का ज़माना है भाई. Today's day of technology. Nice car, nice plane, you're not fasting. Some people do this. Yes, the ruling or the exemption or the leeway of not fasting is applicable till Qiyamah, whether we're traveling on a donkey or Concorde, if they put them into usage again. So someone traveling, they've got the option of breaking their fast, or they're exempted from fasting. Number two, an ill person who fears an increase in his illness by fasting or delay in recovery through past experience, or by being informed by a skilled, upright Muslim doctor. Khadiqin Muslim. Now there's a few scenarios here. A person due to illness, they cannot fast. What type of illness? An illness where a person's health will deteriorate. There's fear of loss of life, there's fear, loss or deterioration of health, or there's also fear that recovery will be delayed. The recovery of a person's health will delay if a person fasts, therefore he doesn't or she doesn't. In these scenarios, a person they don't have to fast. Now this is, faqihun nafs. This is a concept that is discussed inside fiqh. A person is a faqih They are a judge and a jurist of themselves. They know themselves better than anybody else. One person might have an illness, and the type and the modality of their illness is minimum. Therefore, they can fast. That same illness, another person has that same illness. Their forbearance, their tolerance levels, or their defensive mechanism, or whatever they have, immune system is weaker and they cannot tolerate. So this depends on the person. But the generic ruling that's been given by the Sharia is that if a person fasts and the illness is such that the health deteriorates, they cannot bear, or there's fear of life or fear of the health getting worse, then they are exempted from fasting. Therefore, if there is a slight struggle, fasting, there's supposed to be struggle anyway. That's the whole objective, is to break and to weaken the desire, the carnal desire, through mujahada, through sacrifice, staying hungry. So there is going to be somewhat a struggle. But I get a bit of a headache. I've got a bit of a headache, let me break my fast. That will be allowed. Yeah, a person gets a headache, and they do everything else. They work from 9 to 5 shift, everything. So, but yes, if the headache is such that it becomes unbearable, sometimes people have such migraines, it becomes unbearable, then that's different. Again, this is subjected to the person's own decision, their own judgment. They know their health better than anybody else. So, and how did they know this? The author is given through past experience. And through previously in past years, obviously not the first time a person's fasting. Most of the time we've fasted many years before. So through past experience we've realized, we've known that this type of illness has exacerbated my health with fasting. Or by being informed by a skilled, upright Muslim doctor. Now, the case in this country, or any non-Muslim country where the majority of doctors are non-Muslims, down there the advice of the doctor alone is not sufficient. This is referring to a Muslim country where the Muslim doctor who knows about fasting, who fasts, who are religious themselves, they know the importance of fasting, they will tell you that look, you have this illness, but you'll be able to fast, is fine. They'll be able to tell you because they have the importance and the value of the month of Ramadan. Conversely, a non-Muslim doctor, don't fast, because they don't have the importance of fasting. So when it comes to a Muslim doctor's advice in this country, that Muslim doctor's advice has to also be accompanied by your experience. So if a non-Muslim doctor says, if you fast in this illness, if a non-Muslim doctor says to you, if you fast in this illness, then this is not good for you, or meaning don't fast with this illness, his words or her words alone are not sufficient for you to act upon that and not fast. Rather, your own experience has to corroborate with the words of the doctor. So if the doctor says, if you don't fast in this illness because this might impair other parts of your body, or it might aggravate your health, and you have personal experience, then that's fine. So down here, being informed by a skilled, upright Muslim doctor isn't the case where you don't need experience. If it's a Muslim doctor, he's told you, khalas, that's sufficient. But in a non-Muslim doctor scenario, your own experience is also necessary. There's something in the footnotes and annotations which the author has mentioned. Okay, that'll be coming up in the next after the next mas'ala. Number 3, a pregnant woman or a wet nurse if she fears for herself or her baby. So a mother who is breastfeeding, nursing the child, if she believes that it's going to cause harm to her or the child, to the milk, then it is jaiz, is permissible for the mother, for the pregnant woman, or sometimes pregnant woman or the woman that is giving milk to the child, is permissible for them not to fast. Yes, but again, like I said, from experience, or wherever belief they have, if they have predominant assumption or they have conviction that by fasting is going to cause harm, then don't fast. You don't have to fast. Number 4, and someone who experiences severe hunger or thirst, feeling from it so hungry that it will cause death, then of course they must break their fast. This also can be mental impairment. It doesn't have to be death per se, where a person dies. It can also be mental impairment or loss of one's sense. Sometimes a person is so thirsty that it starts affecting the person's mind, his cognitive abilities, and it can impair and damage his way of thinking and seeing things. Then in that case also they can break the fast. However, strenuous and overwork exercise, for example, right? If a person goes to the gym in the month of Ramadan and they know that outside the month of Ramadan, the workout they do, they're almost on the last throes of death. Outside the month of Ramadan. Now in Ramadan, they deliberately do this. So what's going to happen? If outside the month of Ramadan, they're seeing stars during the daylight because of the workout, then inside the month of Ramadan, definitely this will occur. Now in this case, if they put themselves knowingly in that situation, and then they said, we read the mas'ala, the person fears life, death, and we break my fast. They break their fast, of course they need to save their life, but what's going to happen? They have to give kafara. They have to give 60 days expiation. This is only, those people who are exempted, they only have to compensate for the fast that they have broken. But for this person, this bodybuilder, he has to 60 days. Yes, because why does he have to do 60 days? Because he put himself in that position. Yeah? He deliberately put himself in that position. Yes? Such hard work, a person should lessen the work. Even though I look at the month of Ramadan, and if I do strenuous work, it's going to affect my performance, affect my health. Then why put yourself in that position? So that's very important. Also, as I indicated last week or the week before, examinations are not an excuse. Yes, now not so much. But there was a fatwa given a few years ago that to divide the days, and the fatwa was given from other university. Allah give them hidayat. That you can fast, in the summer when it was 22 hours, fast for 12 hours. Divide the day and fast for 12 hours. And then there was also people giving fatwa, astaghfirullah. Dallu wa adallu, sign of Qiyamah. There will be those people that will be misguided, they will not be qualified. They will not be qualified, they will not have the prowess and the skills of actually articulating a fatwa or juristic ruling. But people will make them as leaders. Because today is all about following. The criterion of acceptance and rejection is based on following. Before the time and the age of social media, scholars would be revamped and they would be checked and rechecked by institutions and by local communities, and then they would get a chance to speak on the pulpit. Today there is no that process of checking and rechecking and verifying their credentials. Now you've got a camera, you've got a camera, sit in your room and you start talking about fiqh and hadith and aqi and sahih and za'if and bid'ah and shirk.
The more followers you have, the bigger alim you have.
Shirk and bid'ah. You sometimes see these videos. I don't know what's going to happen with the Jalkums. This is fitna. So anybody can speak about deen now. You don't have to study in an institute for 10 years. You don't have to know certain sciences. You don't have to be verified. You don't have to have an isnad sanad system. But it's only unfortunate with the deen. Everywhere else, doctors, they have to be verified by an institution, by a university. Engineer has to be verified, qualified by a university, institution. Every other sphere of life, the professionals from that field have to be verified. When it comes to, unfortunately, the deen, every person, हमें पता है, maybe no, maybe पढ़ता हूँ, maybe किताबें पढ़ता हूँ. I've had people come and ask me questions. They've asked me a question, मेरी भी ये राय है. They've asked me a question, I give an answer. This is my opinion too. So I think, why you asked me? Just to tell me, look, I read books too. You know, Marshall, if you read books, that's good for you. Yeah. Obviously, Urdu translations or English translations. But yeah, so examination. So this fatwa was given recently. I'm not going to mention the names of the people. Examination, yes, you can break your fast, and you don't have to fast because of examination. And that is, examination is not a good enough excuse. It doesn't put your life at risk by sitting down, proxy GCSE exam, English or science. It doesn't put your life at risk. A 2-3 hours exam is not that difficult. Yes, and I told you before, the Greek philosophers and the Hellenistic period, Pythagoras and Socrates and Plato, they would actively make their students fast for 40 days. Pythagoras, his entire he was a mathematician. His mathematical school was based on this rule that you can only have entry into my university and school if you fast for 40 days. And before examination, they would actually fast, because the philosophy was that through hunger your mind works better, it performs better. So this is misconception. I feel lethargic, I feel tired, we're able to perform, we're able to revise. The opposite is true. Eating too much makes you lazy. Yes, eating too much, especially spicy food, gives you then evil thoughts in your mind. You can't sleep at night. Yes, forget revising. वो गर्मी हो जाती है बदन के अंदर. A lot of heat is generated. Then forget examination. They start thinking about other things. Yes, this is the reality. Not that through fasting your mind becomes weaker. No, Imam Ghazali rahimahullah said, an entire chapter of knowledge opened on me because of fasting, because of staying hungry. وقضوا ما قدروا عليه بقدر الإقامة والصحة ولا يشترط التتابع في القضاء. They are obliged to, meaning those people who are exempted from fasting, make up what they are able to for the duration they are resident after traveling and healthy after illness. However, it is not conditional. It is not a condition to consecutively make them up. Meaning, if you miss 10 days or 20 days, or whenever you fast you miss, then the days after Ramadan, if you get that many days of your life, then it becomes compulsory that you do fast. Now, the authors mention it's not necessary that you fast consecutively, meaning you fast together. So if you miss, for example, 10 fasts, then you don't have to fast those 10 together. And also immediately is not necessary to, although it's highly recommended. Yes, highly recommended that all the fasts that you have missed, you keep them as soon as possible. Now there's a few issues here. And one, my dear friends, a person who is not able to fast in the month of Ramadan because of illness, because of traveling, if it's a woman because of pregnancy or because of breastfeeding, like we mentioned, they are exempted. However, they have to keep those fasts when they are able to. The Quran mentions فَعِدَّةٌ مِّنْ أَيَّامٍ أُخَرَ. They should count, meaning fast in other days after Ramadan whenever they get a chance. There is a misconception that if you cannot fast in Ramadan, then you give a fidya straight away. No, you don't give a fidya straight away. If a person is able to fast even in the winter period, for example, if they are able to fast in December, January, for example, then they are not allowed to give fidya. Why are they not allowed to give fidya? Because the condition of making up the fasts later on is still applicable to them. They can still do this. The scenario of fidya, where a person gives us amount of ransom or food to the poor, wheat, barley, etc., or the ransom which is more applicable today, you give the money equivalent, which is approximately £1.50 to £2 minimum per day for missing a fast. This is only for those people who have a terminal illness or those people who can never fast, whether it's Ramadan or outside Ramadan, they just cannot fast. So for them, it is fidya. They don't have this hope that they're going to recover. And there are illnesses like this. May Allah Ta'ala give shifa to everyone. But there are illnesses like this, or person reached old age, that say, I'm not getting better from this, I'm going more downhill now. There's not getting better for me. So for that person, or even a person might be a young person who have a terminal illness, but then they can give fidya. But a person who can fast in other days, they are not allowed to give fidya. If they do give fidya, they still have to fast. Yes. Final section. What is offensive during the fast? The following things are offensive. Makruh mean disliked. Number one, tasting something. Is mentioned in the annotation. This is provided that it does not reach his body cavity, because it exposes his fast, even if voluntary, to becoming invalid. The above are all prohibitively offensive. Makruh tahrim, they severely disliked. To taste something. This also includes toothpaste. Using toothpaste is not allowed in Ramadan. Why is it not allowed in Ramadan? Because the fear of it going down the throat is high. The chances of the toothpaste going down is extremely high. Therefore, it will be makruh tahrim. And makruh tahrim, I just say it's not allowed. Because when you give these terms, it is allowed but highly disliked. It's allowed but it's not liked. So it's not allowed. And it can break your fast. Okay? So you have to be careful. Use miswak. According to the hadith of Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah ta'ala, you can use miswak in the month of Ramadan. And it's the hadith. This objective, the smell, the bad smell that emanates from the mouth of the fasting person is more beloved to Allah than musk. Yes, this mujahidah, this struggle that person goes through, this is beloved, this is liked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number two, and chewing it without a valid excuse for both this and the one above. So chewing something without any valid reason is also disliked. And if it's got taste, then of course that will break the fast. Chewing gum in which no part detaches off from it. This is referring to the chewing gum, which of course has no taste, just something like rubber. That's also disliked. But the chewing gum that we have, that clearly breaks the fast. Number four, kissing on the mouth because of the risk of swallowing another's saliva. So kissing is also disliked in this manner. And number five, sexual contact without penetration if one is not confident in himself that it will not lead to ejaculation or sexual intercourse. So any sort of sexual contact with your spouse is disliked, especially for a person who has no control, maybe newlywed, or the guy's got a lot of garmi in his body. He knows that by one kiss is gonna give a penalty of 2 months. So refrain from even that contact. Yeah, refrain from even that contact. Yeah, it happened just before Ramadan. They get married in Ramadan. They call you. What do I do? They give kafar after Ramadan. What else are you gonna do? Yes. Look, my dear friend, the month of Ramadan is only a few days. Yes, these rules are set by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is for our own benefit. Because without adhering to these rules, you will not get the maximum benefit of Ramadan. The month of Ramadan comes once a year. Last year we had the month of Ramadan, but the masjid was closed. Yes, and subhanallah. Just today in the morning I was thinking, is this person still alive? Some of the elders that we knew, or some of the teachers that we knew, so many of them have passed away. And sometimes I have to think, are they still alive or not? Because so many people have died and we haven't been able to go to the janazas. Before we could go to the janazas and see and etc. There was a lot of mixing, so we knew who was dying and who isn't. But now people die, they get buried, we don't even know. So this is an opportunity from Allah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the ability to utilize the month of Ramadan. It's 29, 30 days, a bit of struggle. All year we eat, all year we drink, all year we do what we want, my dear friends. Now 29, 30 days, for what? For Jannah. Yeah, we do a bit of sacrifice, again, for our own self. Allah doesn't get any benefit from our sacrifice. The benefit that we receive It's for our own benefit. Number 6, collecting saliva in one's mouth and then swallowing it. So a person collects a load of saliva and then he or she swallows it. This is also makruh. Number 7, and anything that one believes will weaken one from continuing the fast, such as bloodletting or cupping or strenuous labor or exercise. A person knows that they will become weak through this exercise or they will become weak through this activity. It's makruh, disliked to do that. Because what will happen if you become weak? You'll be sitting down and resting in Ramadan. And Ramadan is not a time to rest. Ramadan is not a month for resting. Ramadan is a month for working. Just imagine, you went to a shop, a market with everything, not just nappies. Sometimes you have sales and you see how Asian trolleys are full of nappies. You've got sale on everything. Big market, sale on everything. And the sale is that you've got 1 hour to buy. And whatever you buy, you get 10 free. 1 hour. Whatever you buy, you get 10 free. Now it will be nonsensical. It will be absolutely absurd and stupidity for a person to go to that market 1 hour and say, you know what guys, let me just relax for a bit. And the last 5 minutes I'll see what I can do. Will anybody do this? Yeah. In the month of Ramadan, Allah is not saying get 1. Buy 1, get 70 free. 70. Any action we do multiplied by 70 times. Nafil is equivalent to a fard. Subhanallah. Outside the month of Ramadan, if you pray nafil optional prayers all your life, all of your optional prayers will never be equivalent to a fard. In the month of Ramadan, this happens. I'm not saying we don't rest, of course, the necessary rest that we need, we should. That's why we should be very careful in what we do in the month of Ramadan, what activities we do, even how we do our work. Just try to lessen it, lessen your performance, so it doesn't affect your ibadat, your Quran recitation, your taraweeh, your 5 salawat, the things that we need to do in the month of Ramadan. And finally, what is recommended for the one fasting? The following are recommended for the one fasting: to have the pre-dawn meal, suhoor. Prophet ﷺ said, "Tasahharu." Have your pre-dawn meal, because in your suhoor, your pre-dawn meal, there is barakah. Even if you have a few dates, a bit of water, a time of sahri with the niyyah of sunnah, inshallah, this will give us a spiritual strength and physical strength, inshallah, throughout the day. So to have the pre-dawn meal is also highly recommended. To delay it, i.e. the pre-dawn meals. To have the suhoor in the latter part of the night, just before the fajr begins. So for example, if fajr starts at 4:30, for example, on the first day of Ramadan, 4 o'clock, 4:45. But we should have spare some time either before the suhoor or after the suhoor, so we can pray some tahajjud. Yes, try to pray some tahajjud during the month of Ramadan. The sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ with tahajjud was 8 rakat. In Ramadan and outside Ramadan. That's where the misconception of Taraweeh comes from, 8 rakat, this hadith of tahajjud. 8 rakat in Ramadan and 8 outside Ramadan. Throughout the year, Prophet ﷺ constant practice of tahajjud was 8 rakat. If you can't pray 8, minimum 2, 4, whatever we can do, and also make dua, inshallah. During the year, we I don't pray tahajjud anyway, but during the year, how many of us we pray? Forget tahajjud, fajr, masjid is empty. So this is the month of Ramadan, alhamdulillah, wake up for suhoor, so let's make practice. And who knows, because of the month of Ramadan, barakah, that tahajjud, Allah might give us tawfiq to carry on after Ramadan, inshallah. And to hasten in breaking the fast on a non-cloudy day. So when the sky is clear and we've observed that the sun has set, we don't delay in breaking the fast in our iftar on a non-cloudy day. Meaning on a cloudy day, because there can be some doubt and the situation can be inconspicuous because of the clouds, and it's better to slightly delay the iftar. But this is not so much applicable today because of the clocks and watches that we have. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us all the tawfiq. The last section, inshallah, we'll have one more session before Ramadan, and that will be regarding i'tikaf. Inshallah, we'll have our i'tikaf brothers. Chima, you ready to see, inshallah? Inshallah. Yeah, when I think of i'tikaf, Chima comes to my mind. I don't know why. That's a good thing, isn't it? MashaAllah.
Maulana, will taking the vaccine during your fast break it?
None. Any injection, injection doesn't break your fast. Unless, and now this obviously the doctor will tell you, any injection goes directly to the stomach. But as far as I know, the doctors I've asked, most of the injection do not give it to the stomach, yeah. So taking vaccine does not break.
ताकत वाला टीका बाद लोग लगवाते हैं ताकत वाला पाकिस्तान में
For energy.
मजदूर उसमें और पावर आ जाती है वो खाने की ग़िज़ा की तरह होता है
That breaks the fast then.
that breaks fast
Steroids.
लगाते हैं बस
Oh, that's an interesting one. That's an interesting one.
Athletes.
Where does that injection go? The takat obviously goes to the whole body, but does it go to
Blood
the
stream.
nourishment, isn't it?
that breaks your fast
That's